to saying that, hey, I want to change the dimension on this one from 3000 to 3005, depth from 4000 back to 3000, all right? And the return wall length, I'm going to make a very huge gap over here so that you guys can see the difference. So when I start to change the global parameters, you can see everything is going to be changed at the same time. All right, so this one is going to be 3000. Okay. So you can see everything is going to be changed at the same time. Okay. So this is how the global parameter works. Okay. So when we start to create all this kind of the dimensioning, and when we start to do a scheduling, okay, previously when we talk about the scheduling, there are few things that we quite concerned is every time you want to do the certain schedule, basically we create a specific parameter to come up with the certain columns and so on. So basically, right now we have what we call is a combined parameters. That means that from these combined parameters, basically I can just combine any parameters together into one single column. All right. So like for example, I want my name to which level and what is the area into one single column. Okay. So basically I can have all these separators. Okay. That means that I want to put a space bar and a dash over here. Okay. So, and once I click OK, and now you can see from here the level line, the resolution is a bit small, but you can see all the different parameters is going to combine into one single columns. Okay, so this is how you can create with the room schedules. Okay, so we have this kind of dimensioning, we have this kind of schedule, and now when we put into the a drawing sheets, how many of you have a problem with the texting? Do you guys suffer when you want to create a text with the numbering, with the notes and so on in previous Revit? So basically in Revit, basically you only create one line, second line, and so on. So for you to create a numbering, everything is going to be quite hectic if you want to do it in Revit, unless you copy from somewhere else and then you copy and paste into here. But now, what you can do with Revit is, you can see basically the text in Revit, they have more things that you are customizable. Like for example, bold, italic, underlines. You can have the subscript, you can have the superscript. You can turn all the notes, small notes, okay, small alphabet into a capital, all these kind of functions, okay. So let's say that this is the notes, and I can start to type any text that I want, and I can even create a numbering over here. Okay, so let's say that this is the floor plan, elevations. So you can see basically now we can have this kind of capability in the Revit directly. Okay, so there are more things that we can cover over here on the text, and basically whatever that is that you have right now, it helps you to ease your issue when you're doing the drafting, also the documentations. Okay, so this is the general things about Revit. Okay, next thing is I want to touch to you about is more on the architectural part. Okay, how many of you that did the elevations and you start to concern about the depth of your models? Like for example, for this model, whatever that is extended out, the wing extended out, it should be darker compared to the building at the back. So that is quite common when the architect want to do a presentations, right? So the only things previously what we have done is we just create the shadows, so that with the hope the clients or the architects is satisfied with whatever the shadows that we have it over here, so that you can see what is the depth on this one, which building is in front, which building is at the back. So now in Revit itself right now, basically you can have what we call is the depth queuing. Okay, so this depth queuing basically it will help you to differentiate out which of the building is at the back, which one of the building is at the front. So I can even have the lighter color or darker color. Okay, So you can see certain buildings at the back is quite shaded out. Okay, why on the left hand side and right hand side is quite shaded out is because the angle of the elevation is quite slanted or distorted. So that's why the building, you can see there's a bit shading on the left and right. But if you look at one of the example on the east elevation, basically you can see whatever is at the back is going to be in a lighter color. Okay, I hope you can see it clearly on the screen right now. Okay, so if I change the color and add in more, add in the shadow, basically you can see like there's a difference between the front and the backs. All right. Okay. So the last thing about presentation is when we talk about rendering. How many of you are using Revit for rendering? Are you guys using Revit for rendering? Okay, you have used Revit for rendering, right? Normally, how long is going to take for the rendering? Like half a day if you want to create a high quality, or normally before you finish up your work, you're going to create render, and then you're going to collect your finished work by the next morning when you go to the office, right? That's quite normal, right? So basically, that is how when you work with the Revit. Okay, so let's say that I'm going to create a perspective over here. Okay, so it's not going to be a nice rendering, but I just want to show to you the idea what you can do with the rendering nowadays. All right. So as usual, you come up with the shadows, we come up with the 3D perspective and so on, and now you start to go to the view and to do a rendering. Okay. How many of you realize that there's two types of render? One is render and the other one is render in cloud. Anyone? All right. So are you using render in cloud? Anyone using render in cloud? Okay, some of you are using render in cloud, right? So for those who doesn't use render in cloud, basically render in cloud is what can I say, is much faster compared to whatever that you render using your own PC or desktop. Okay. Like for example, there are two things of enhancement about rendering over here. One thing is about rendering over here is when you start to do a rendering, previously you only can select the type of rendering as a draft, medium, fine, and best. Okay, so from here basically you can start to choose what we call is a custom. Okay, so this custom, it means that I can start to do a rendering with the unlimited time frame. It means that I can let my computer running for a few days, and if you start to do a rendering again and again, the more rendering, more time is going to take, the more details and more, the better quality your rendering is going to be. So you have this kind of capability that to let your rendering engine keep running until up to a certain point that you are satisfied with the quality. Okay, so this one is going to take time, but the quality is going to be awesome. Okay, if you compare to the normal way, you're only able to choose best, high, or draft, and so on. Okay, so the other things that some of you may never know is actually you can send your model to render in cloud. Okay, so if you're under subscription, basically you have a certain cloud credits that you can do a rendering. So basically what you need to do is you just need to set what kind of view that you want to render, okay, what kind of quality that you want, okay, and also what kind of image size that you want. Of course, the higher is going to use more cloud credit that is required. So whatever that you need to do is, I can start to click start rendering. Okay, what will happen is Revit will send your models to the cloud while you still can continue your work with the Revit. Okay, so you don't need, like, once you click the render, you cannot move your you cannot move your PC, you cannot touch your PC, and you cannot do anything with your PC anymore. So once you click render in cloud, basically once they send the model to the cloud, and you can start to work, continue your work with Revit. So when it's done, it will send you an email. Okay, like for example, like just now I did one rendering over here. So they will send you this kind of email. They say that your rendering is done, okay, it's ready. So all you need to do is you just click to sign in to the cloud and to look at the final result. Okay, how long is it going to take for you to do a rendering in the high quality? Basically, it's very fast. Basically, all you need to do is you're going to spend about 10 to 15 minutes to get a very high quality rendering. Okay, so I will show to you some of the sample of the rendering that have been done with the cloud rendering. Okay. Okay. So from here, I can just click on the My Renderings, and I can see this is the rendered model that I sent to the cloud, and this is the quality it can be. So what you need to do is you just download the image, or you re-render using a new settings. Okay, you can even have the capability to redo your rendering, okay, on clouds. Okay, I'm going to select big a bit. Okay, all right. So this is just a sample of the rendering that I sent, and I can show to you some of the gallery is being done by the users, and also some of the user in the industry, what they have done with the Revit and so on. So basically, you can see the quality is quite high. It's quite detailed. If I look at this kind of interiors quality, all right, so you can get this kind of quality of rendering once you send it to the cloud system. So to get this kind of quality, it doesn't take you like half a day or 8 hours of rendering. Basically, all you need to do is about 10 to 15 minutes. Okay, while waiting for that, you still can continue your work and so on. Basically, what you can see over here is, okay, so on top of here, you can see there's a circle is keep circling. It means that the rendering is in the progress at the back. Okay, so this is pretty much on how the Revit 2017 can help for the architects in terms of presentations and also the drafting. What I want to show it quickly, move it to you guys, is for the structure engineer. Okay, to be frank, I pretty like the Revit Structure 2017. How many of you has been struggling to create this kind of connections in previous Revit? It's almost impossible, right? So normally, if you want to get this kind of connection, basically all you need to do is you're going to send into AutoCAD. You're going to start to do a basic modification in AutoCAD. All right. For Revit 2017, basically what they come up with is the connections. Okay. So still remember just now I'm talking about the industry is start moving into prefab construction, prefabrication construction, and also modular construction. This is part of the tools that helps them to move the project to the prefab construction and also the modular construction. All right. For example, this kind of quality of the steel connection, it doesn't take you much time. All you need to do is select columns or beam that you want to connect, and basically you just go to the connections over here. Okay, and choose what kind of connection that you want to be. Like for example, on this one, I want it to be on the movement end plate. All right. Okay, so maybe I choose another one over here. Okay, front plate splice. Okay, all you need to do is, when it's done, it will automatically help me to trim the columns and also create the connection for me, including all the bolt, nut, and also the plates. Okay, so I can even create this kind of connection as well. Okay, so let me try another one again, connection over here. And for this one, I'm going to choose single side end plate. All right, let me see if it works. If I realize that something is not right, or something that is something that I don't want, so I can quickly just move to another type of connection as I want to. So you can play around with this kind of connection to whichever connection that you feel satisfied. So let's say that, for example, on this one, okay. So I want to play around this connection with one of the, let me see, let's say that I'm going to do this kind of connection, this three type of connection over here, okay. So I can use the same method and just move around and see what kind of connection details that I want to. So if I see this thing doesn't look right, so basically I can just click cancel and just move around and see what kind of other connection that I want it to be. All right. This type of connection is quite flexible. Basically, you can just go to the parameters over here, and you can start to change all the details. including the bolt and nut sizes. Okay, let's say that I'm going to use a smaller size of the bolt and nut. Okay, and I'm going to start to use the plate, a more thicker plate, which is the 20 mm. Okay, so basically whatever that I change, you can see actually my graphic is changing as well. Okay, so from this connection, what you can do is you can start to send all this connection to what we call is the advanced steel. All right, advanced steel is one of the tools that to help you for the steel fabrications. Okay, so basically this is one of the features when we talk about steel connection in Revit 2017. So another thing is there's a few more enhancements on the Revit structure, but what I want to touch a little bit is on the rebar. Okay, so previously if you have all this kind of the non-even or the non-standard beam or the column, what you need to do with the rebar is you might need to start to craft or draft it one by one, because all the link height or the link distance or the size is different one by one from bottom to the top. All right, so basically what you need to do is from here I can just click on rebar. Okay, I want it to be perpendicular to the cover, and on top of here I have one additional button called wearing rebar set. Okay, so what I need to do is I can just click on one end. Okay, I can start to set a few more things over here before I claim more details. Let's say that for example this one I want it to be number with spacing. Okay, I want it to be like, let's say 15. Okay, so same to go with this one. Okay, I want to set that number with spacing, which is 15, and spacing is 100 mm. And this one, what I want to say is this one is going to be a fixed number. Okay, depends how your design is going to be. What can I do is I can quickly drag it over here, and you can see by default my both sides is going to be overlapped. Okay, with my rebar, all I need to do is I can just turn this one off and turn the other side off, and now I can start to key in whatever the volume that I want to. Let's say that it's going to be 20 over here. All right, so or if I make it obvious, I make it 10. So you can get this kind of the rebar design quite quickly and quite fast with the Revit 2017. Okay. So there are a few more things about Revit structure that I won't be touch more in details, but I'm going to touch a little bit on the Revit MEP before I move into details. Okay. For Revit MEP, let's say that I have this kind of the design over here. Okay. So one of the enhancement of the Revit MEP is they're moving Revit MEP into a fabrication tools or the fabrications process. Like for example, on this kind of HVAC, all I need to do is to select whatever that I have it over